Good evening, Datta sir, and good evening to all my cheerful participants. Before we start the session, I say sorry for the inconvenience. To explain how to do tabulation work, data generation, and data filtration. So let us spend few minutes on this aspect. After that, I would like to cover the remaining topics left over yesterday. Is it okay? So I'm sharing the screen. Yeah, this is Jamovi software, and uh, here you can see the data. Okay, uh, H1 you can see, I think H1, H2, H3. These are the three items or questions relating to human resource planning. After that, you find uh, R1, R2, R3. These are the three items included in the study relating to recruitment and selection. After that, you find T1, T2, T3. It is about training and development. Then you have performance appraisal, three items. Then pay and benefits, three items. And work performance, three items. So all these are the individual items. That is why you can see a icon there which has three circles in triangle shape. So it indicates that it gives the details of individual data. Here you can see a golden biscuit like. So that indicates composite score. What do you mean by composite score? Total of, if it is H, it is the total of H1, H2, H3. All the three total is shown here. So that is why you find different icon here. Same way it is done for recruitment, then training and development, then performance appraisal, pay and benefits, and work performance. Then what to do for categorical or qualitative data? As it is, you enter how the respondent has given the information. As it is, you enter in the Excel sheet. The first respondent, in my case, it is female, so write female. The second respondent is male, so write male. As it is, you enter, and this is about different departments in the organization. This is the code given, and they are telling about the job satisfaction, satisfied or not satisfied. So this is the data set I have. Now, how I tabulated, for example, in case of HR practices, the first question is H1. The first respondent has ticked, has given 7 points, means the last point yes, put is tick. Here, the questionnaire is prepared on 7-point scale, where the first respondent has given highest score, that is 7. For the second question, he has given low score, very low score. For the third question, he has given high score. If I add, so how the respondent has given the score, the same thing you put it here. The second respondent, see, for the first question, he has given 7, so put 7. Third respondent, he has given, he has ticked again 6. Therefore, write 6 here, like that. What score the respondent has given, the same score should be written as it is. Then you find the total. You get the composite score for the first factor, human resource planning. And the same procedure should be followed for the other factors. Now, you asked me, I have the data, but I don't know how to decide what type of statistical tool to be used. Okay, for that my answer is, see, here I have demographic variables or attributes or qualitative data I have here. Okay, so what to do? If I have qualitative data, what type of statistical tool I can use? One is percentages can be calculated, and the second one, if you want to do hypothesis testing, chi-square is the only statistical tool you can use it for this type of qualitative data. Okay, so one question I answered, then I'll go back. Here I have data which is obtained on a 7-point scale. So what to do? So here I have 6 dimensions or factors. Uh, all these are all these are considered as independent variable in my study. Which are those? Human resource planning, training and development, performance appraisal, pay and benefits. The last one is taken as dependent variable. So I have independent variable and dependent variable. Then which statistical tool I'm going to use it to analyze this type of data? Suppose the objective of my study is to know the significant difference between two study groups with regard to HR planning or training and development. Then I should use t-test. If the object, I'm repeating again, if the objective of my study is to know the difference between two study groups, namely male and female, with regard to training and development, then I should use t-test, because theory clearly tells if X is categorical, if Y is continuous, and the distribution is normal, use t-test. On the other hand, X is categorical, Y is continuous, distribution is normal, but you have more than two study groups. See here, the second column uh, in demographic, where I have given demographic details, you find three groups here, three departments. So if you have more than two study groups, then use ANOVA. So this is one way of deciding which statistical tool to be used. Suppose if the objective of my study is to know the relationship between independent and dependent variable. In my case, the independent variables are HR practices. I have identified around 5 practices, and my dependent variable is work performance. If I want to know the relationship, then use correlation analysis, because theory very clearly tells if x is continuous, y is also continuous, and data is normally distributed, use correlation analysis to measure the relationship between x and y. On the other hand, if the objective of my study is uh, to measure the impact of independent variable on dependent variable, then I should use regression. I can use regression, stepwise regression, or SEM, structural equation modeling. Anything you can use it to know the impact of independent variable on dependent variable. This is how you're going to draw the conclusion uh, for selecting appropriate statistical tools for the data you have. I hope I answered your question. Then what else? 1 minute.
Yes, ma'am. This is Vinita.
Oh, yeah. Some more clarification you need?
Yeah, ma'am. I need a clarification regarding if we use a
Huh?
Likert scale for every question.
Hmm.
Are you getting, ma'am?
Demographic like it scale.
If we use a
Yeah.
Likert scale for every questions for every variable, talking about the dependent independent variables. If we
Okay.
use the Likert scale for framing the questions for the dependent variables and independent variable, so what
Hmm.
kind of test we need to do?
If you use Likert scale, then the data what we get will be a continuous data, not categorical.
Okay,
Categorical is qualitative. It is a continuous data. If you
okay, ma'am.
get rating scale,
Okay,
okay. So
yeah,
you have continuous data, both independent also continuous, dependent also continuous.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then if you want to know the relationship, use correlation. If you want to measure the impact, use regression.
okay,
On the other hand, if you want to know the significant difference between two study groups with regard to HR practices, something like that,
okay,
if you have if you have one of the objective in your study, then use T test or ANOVA.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I hope.
ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. My studies. Okay, ma'am. My dependent variables. Yeah, independent variables or variable is employee performance.
Employee performance is dependent.
Yes, ma'am.
You're independent.
Leadership styles, motivation, and work culture.
Okay, okay. That motivation comes as mediator.
Yeah.
Very good. Fine. No, is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. Clear. Thank you
That's
very
what.
much, ma'am.
Now, based on the objective, decide which tool to be used.
Okay, ma'am. Now
Very
I
good.
got an idea.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Okay. Now
Thank you.
I go back to uh, before that. Different people are using different softwares. Is it required for me to show how to do the calculations in Jamovi? Not required, no. Let us learn how to interpret for the statistical results we get after doing the calculation. Let us concentrate on that. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh, Learning Jamovi, you don't need any teacher. Self learning is possible. It is a user friendly software where somebody's guidance is not required. You can do it by yourself. Only thing is, you should decide the correct statistical tool for analyzing the data what you obtained. Okay. So I close this. Now I open my PPT. Yeah, here you can see correlation. Yes. Uh, the theory tells if you have two variables, one is independent variable and the other one is dependent variable, and uh, both are continuous, and you can and the distribution is normal. You don't have skewed distribution, we have normal distribution. Then haram say you can use correlation analysis, that is Carl Pearson correlation analysis. If you have data in the form of rank, then Spearman rank correlation should be used. If you have uh, data in the form of rating scale, then you can use Carl Pearson correlation analysis. If you use Carl Pearson correlation analysis, then how to formulate the null and alternative hypothesis. So I read those two from the slide directly. In case of null hypothesis, the statement goes like this: there is no significant relationship between HR practices and business performance. That is the null hypothesis. The alternate hypothesis will be there is a significant relationship between HR practices and business performance. So this is how you're going to write the hypothesis, null hypothesis, and alternative hypothesis. Now we'll move to the next slide. Here you find results relating to correlation analysis. And before analyzing the results, let me explain these points. The first one is the correlation value should be more than zero point 0. If you get less than zero point 0, it has no meaning. Uh, Correlation should be calculated for variables, not for the items. For the variables, you can see the variables on the slide, no? Some 11 variables are there. For the variables, you're going to calculate the correlation. And in case of correlation calculation, it is not required to identify which is my independent variable and which is my dependent variable. Not required. You can calculate correlation between any two variables what you have taken in the study. Okay, no need to identify independent and dependent variables. Okay, now here in this table you find too many correlation values. Some are negative, some are positive. Now, if you get positive correlation, how we are going to interpret? Okay, so in case of first column, last the item is the last item is negative. So how we are going to interpret this negative correlation? Let me give an example for this. When we get a negative correlation, that is my question. If the respondent, see the first column, this item 0.31 is the correlation between first one, human resource planning and business performance. We are getting negative. Why we got negative? The
That means there is a negative correlation.
yeah, why we got, how we got that? That respondents, what they have done, they have given high score for human resource planning, and low score for business performance, or reverse might have happened. High score for business performance, low score for human resource planning. When they do that, we get negative correlation. Okay. So whenever respondent gives low correlation, it is a matter of concern. We cannot neglect that item totally. It is a gray area for any kind of organization where the action has to be taken immediately. Otherwise, it may lead to a serious problem. Okay. And we find many positive correlations. Uh, how we are going to get positive correlations? The example is, the respondents might have given high score for X and high score for Y. Then we get positive correlation. If you get positive correlation, nothing to worry, you can just ignore it. If you get negative correlation, then the matter should be taken seriously. That is one point to be taken into consideration. Uh, Now, the next one, here you find interpretation relating to correlation table. Now, how it is interpreted? In the first para, the author has written the minimum correlation value and maximum correlation value. The author has written the minimum and maximum. Now, here in this case, the minimum correlation value is 0.31 and maximum is 0.91. So, here we find huge difference between minimum and maximum value. This indicates that some of the departments are performing very well and some are not doing so well. That is the message this data conveys. And the second para, we should write how many factors have positive relationship and how many have negative relationship in the second para. And in the third para, we should write how many factors have weak relationship, low relationship, and how many have high relationship. And we should also specify the correlation values, the minimum correlation value and maximum correlation value, even for the dimensions or factors which has weak relationship with business performance. Here the value is 0.31 minimum, maximum is 0.38. No much difference. So these areas are really a critical areas where uh, the management has to take action. Otherwise, they are going to land up in a problem. Okay, this is about correlation analysis. So you get the correlation table, and what is that you are going to find out in that table? How many have positive relationship? How many have negative relationship? 1 point. Second one, how many have high correlations and how many have low correlation? If there are any factors which have low correlation, mention those factors at the end. This is how you're going to write the interpretation. Now I move to the next one. Uh, Linear regression analysis. In case of regression analysis, the x variable should be continuous, y variable also should be continuous, and the distribution should be normal. Only then you can employ regression analysis. uh, in this table, sorry, slide, we should learn how to write hypothesis if we use regression analysis. The hypothesis goes like this. In case of null, you're going to write there is no significant impact of HR practices on business performance. And alternative, sorry, the same thing is repeated. There is a significant impact of HR practices on business performance. So, when to use regression, I have given the criteria. X is continuous, Y is continuous, and the distribution should be normal. Then you're going to use regression analysis. From the theoretical backup, if we uh, find the statistical tool like binary logistic regression analysis, then we should know when to use this type of statistical tool. So theory tells if x is continuous and y is categorical, then you can use binary logistic regression analysis. Otherwise, uh, the data, the relationship between x and y should be linear relationship only. Only in case of binary logistic regression analysis, uh, the x can be continuous and y can be categorical. So this is about regression analysis, and here you find a regression table. So in this case, we need to observe certain aspects. The first one is observe r square value. Experts say that higher the r square value, better will be the model. The second one is observe p values, and it should be more than 0.05. The third one is observe t values, and it should be more than 1.96. The next aspect to be observed is here you find intercept. So, what is this intercept? We should know the meaning. So, from theoretical guidelines, we can easily give the meaning to this concept. Now, what is that meaning? If x is 0, then y will be 1.14. If x is 0, what is y? In this case, if x is 0, y is 1.14. That is the meaning of intercept. And after intercept, you find too many values. Now, what are those? They are beta values. Now, what do you mean by beta values? The theory says if uh, x increases by 100%, y will increase by 33% in first case. Second case also almost same. In third case, If x increases by 100%, y will increase only by 10%. This is how you're going to understand the meaning of beta. And this is about the regression table. Now, how to interpret the regression results? First, what we should write, what is the overall contribution of independent variable on dependent variable should be written in the first para. What is the overall contribution, or what is the overall influence, or what is the overall impact of independent variable on dependent variable should be highlighted in the first para. Now, in this case, it is clearly written the overall HR practices is influencing job satisfaction to the extent of 86%. To the extent of 86%. Then, in the next para, just mention the R square value, how much it is, the T value, P value, and also you're going to write whether the hypothesis is accepted or not. The next one is stepwise regression analysis. Now, what is this stepwise regression analysis? In this case, we can find the contribution of individual factor towards dependent variable. We can also find the contribution of group of factors towards dependent variable. Now, in the slide, what you can see is the contribution of X9 is how much? 30%. The contribution of X9 towards dependent variable, that is job satisfaction, it is 30%. X9 alone influencing the job satisfaction of the employees to the extent of 30%. When X8 is added to X9, then the impact is increased from 30% to 32%. When X10 is added to X9 and X8, the impact has become 36%. Now you see the last step. When all these factors are taken together, X9, X8, X10, X7, X5, X4, the impact is 71% on job satisfaction. So this is one table with regard to stepwise regression analysis. Now, I frequently used X9, X10, and so on. So, what is X9? It is knowledge management. X8, it is training and development. X10, it is employee empowerment. Then the last one, all the put together. The last one is workplace management. So, in this study, knowledge management alone influenced or contributed for job satisfaction of the employees to the extent of 33%. When all these factors are taken together, knowledge management, training and development, employee empowerment, pay and benefits, employee recognition, workplace management, etc., the influence increased from 30% to 70, almost 72%. Okay. Now, uh, in this study, step number 6 is taken as the last step. From sixth step onwards, R square value constantly decreases. Therefore, the further steps were not considered. Why only six steps are taken? This is the reason. Up to six steps, the R value kept on increasing. After that, it started decreasing. Therefore, we have to stop at sixth step. So, up to sixth steps, the factors which are contributing more towards dependent variable are specified in this table. Okay, so this is about the regression. So we'll move to the next one. Yeah, mediating variable. The statistical tool which is widely used by the research students today is mediation analysis. Now, let us discuss this statistical tool with example. Uh, Friends, if we use three variables, like
Hello.
yes,
May I interrupt, ma'am?
uh,
What is a mediating variable? It is a confounding variable.
no, confounding variable, no, confounding variable, that demographic variable only we are going to take. Confounding variable. It will
Then
have
what we mean
separate.
by mediating variable?
Huh?
What we mean by mediating variables?
Yeah, I'm coming to that point only now.
Huh.
But confounding variable will have independent effect or direct effect on independent variable and direct effect on dependent variable. Okay, whereas
Yes.
mediating variable is not like that. Okay.
Then it is indirectly influencing.
Yeah, here it is indirectly influencing.
It is a lurking variable.
Yes.
I
Okay.
didn't listen this term, so I'm asking you, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
I didn't listen this particular term, mediating variable. So I'm asking you.
Oh, okay, fine.
Hmm.
So,
Sorry, ma'am.
ah,
Yeah, mediating variable is one which is going to build the relationship between the two variables. Is it right?
mediating variable will have indirect influence
Then
on
it is
dependent
extraneous.
variable.
Then it is extraneous variable, no?
Yes,
Ah,
it is
no, no, that is
extraneous or
different.
maybe lurking variable.
Pardon?
Lurking, CULRK, lurking variable.
Okay, okay.
Ah,
Okay,
somewhere.
ma'am.
Okay.
That's okay.
Shall I? Shall I?
Ma'am, is it can we tell
You
this
say,
way? It
you.
has an we can check whether it has a influence over the dependent variable.
Yeah.
Whether the mediating variable can have an influence over the other than the independent variable, whether the mediating variable has an influence over the outcome. Can we tell that way?
Yeah. In case of if we use mediating variable, or in case of mediation analysis, independent variable will have indirect impact on dependent variable through mediating variable, or mediating variable will have uh, indirect, it is nothing but indirect influence, not direct, indirect influence on the dependent variable in case of mediation analysis. Now, let me explain this example so that we get clarity. Um, so, if we have three variables: independent variable, dependent variable, and mediating variable, then we should use mediation analysis. Now, in this case, independent variable does not influence dependent variable directly. Instead, it influences dependent variable only through mediating variable. This is the objective or purpose of mediating variable. Independent variable will not have direct influence on dependent variable. Instead, it will have influence on dependent variable only through mediating variable. Okay. To have more clarity, uh, let us analyze the conceptual model what you are seeing on this slide. If you are using mediating variable, this is how the conceptual model should be prepared, showing triangle relationship. Okay. So in this example, I have taken salary as independent variable, health screening expenses as dependent variable, and medical education as mediating variable. Here, salary influences medical education and medical education influences health screening expenses. Okay, that is the relationship we find. Salary will influence mediating variable, that is medical education, and medical education will influence health screening expenses. Suppose if medical education is removed, the relationship between salary and health screening expenses disappears. On the other hand, if you bring in, the relationship emerges. If you remove it, the relationship between salary and health screening expenses disappears. That is the strength of mediating variable. Okay, now you can ask me questions. The what is mediating variable? I explained. So I have taken.
No, it's okay. It's okay, ma'am.
Okay, we'll continue. Right. Sorry, this side a lot of disturbance. 1 minute, I will switch off. Okay. Now, if we use mediating variable, then we should know how to formulate hypothesis. So here, the null hypothesis will be medical education does not mediate the relationship between salary and health screening expenses. This is how you're going to write null hypothesis. How are you going to write alternative hypothesis? So it should be written like this: medical education mediates the relationship between salary and health screening expenses. This is how we are going to write the hypothesis. Now, in this slide, you can see the mediation analysis table which I have taken from one of the published article. Here we find model 1, model 2 and model 3. In case of model 1, regression influence of HR on knowledge management is calculated. I repeat again. So before I go to this table, let us observe the diagram which is given at the end of the table. Here, HR practice is taken as independent variable, business performance is taken as dependent variable, and knowledge management is taken as mediating variable. And with that background, let us go back to the table. In case of model 1, regression is calculated between human resource practice and knowledge management. In case of model 2, regression influence of HR practices on business performance is calculated. In case of model 3, regression influence of HR practices on business performance through knowledge management is calculated in the last model. Uh, Theory says that the model where the regression value is higher, that model should be considered as best model. In this case, the beta value of model 1 is 0.385. The beta value of model 2 is 0.214, and the beta value of model 3 is 0.413. So therefore, the third model is considered as the best model. So this is how you're going to uh, analyze this particular table. Just observe the beta values. Just observe and see where the value is more. That model should be taken as the best model. Now we'll move to the next one. Okay. Here you find diagrammatic presentation of mediation analysis, where the total effect of independent variable on dependent variable is calculated, and it is 0.214. It is written there, C. The C is the total effect. Total effect means the influence of HR practice on business performance. So it is 0.214. Secondly, the indirect effect of independent variable on dependent variable is calculated, and the value is 0.159. Now the question is how we got this 0.159. It is nothing but the product of A1, that is 0.385, and B2, that is 0.413. If you multiply, you get 0.159. What we should do next? Calculate the direct effect of independent variable, that is HR practices, on dependent variable, that is business performance. How we are going to do? By deducting the indirect effect value from the total effect. If you do that, you get 0.055. So, what does this value conveys? The answer is the total effect of independent variable on dependent variable is 0.214, and it got reduced to 0.055 because of mediating effect of knowledge management. That means the actual contribution of HR on business performance is only 0.055 and not 0.214. This is how we are going to analyze it. Uh, any point to be clarified? Any point to be clarified here?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Then we'll move to the next. One minute. Here, if you refer to any research based articles, we come across the words like full mediation, partial mediation, and no mediation, and so on. So, let us know the meaning of these concepts. Now, observe the diagram. If the direct effect is non-significant, see, direct effect is a 0.055, it is non-significant, and A1 and B2 is significant, then it is the case of full mediation. Knowledge management fully mediates the dependent variable. On the other hand, if the direct effect is significant, A1 also significant, B2 also significant, then it is the case of partial mediation. So here, HR also plays a role to influence business performance. And the third one, A1 also non-significant, B2 also non-significant. Then there is no mediation effect at all. So we have to remember these three criterias before we start interpreting the diagram. So this is about the diagram. So how we are going to report it? So I just read. In case of model 1, it provides evidence of significant effect of HR practices on knowledge management, and the beta value is 0.385. Model 1. We could find this in the table. So same thing should be what quantitative data we highlighted in table, that should be translated into text. Second one, model 2. Here, the significant effect between HR practices and business performance was measured, and the beta value is 0.214. In model 3, what has happened? It provides regression of perceived business performance on both HR practices and knowledge management, and it showed a significant effect of knowledge management on business performance. The beta value is 0.413. In the next para, what is that you're going to write? It shows that the effect of HR practices on business performance reduced from model 2 and became insignificant. Therefore, we can say KM fully mediates the relationship between HR practices and business performance. So, what is there in the table? The same thing is translated into text. That's all. Nothing we have done here. Okay, we'll move to the next one. Here comes interpretation. Now, what is that? So, from the results, it is clear that knowledge management has full mediation effect on dependent variable, that is business performance, to the extent of 74%. This conclusion conveys that without knowledge management, HR practice cannot influence business performance. Okay, that is a conclusion we can draw in case of full mediation. And another point to be noted here is the mediation effect is only 76%, and there is a gap of 26%. Authors of this article, they are of the opinion that the gap of 26% has arisen because of other mediating factors which were not considered in their study. And they suggested to the future research students that this type of research work can be carried forward and find out which are the other mediating factors which are influencing business performance other than the knowledge management. So, authors themselves have given this suggestion. This is about the mediating variable. Now, we'll take up moderating. So, here, so moderating variable will change the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable. It will change totally, and that change can be either positive or negative. For example, see the slide. See, the diagram is different here. It is not triangle. Okay, moderating variable is coming in between independent variable and dependent variable. This is how the conceptual model should be prepared if you are using moderating variable in your study. Now, how we are going to decide whether it is mediating or moderating variable? This should be done based on review of literature, or sometimes by taking suggestions from the experts. The research student may decide which variable should be taken as independent, which one should be taken as dependent, which one to be taken as mediating variable, and which one to be taken as moderating variable. Okay. Now let us analyze this example. If age is considered as moderating factor between independent variable, that is salary, and dependent variable, that is health screening expenses, the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable will be high if the age of the person is high. Now, what do you mean by that? If you take the age of senior citizens, then the relationship between income and expense becomes stronger. Means more the income, more the expenses. It becomes very stronger. And on the other hand, if the I covered older people, now young people. If the uh, relationship between income and dependent variable uh, becomes less impact in case of young people. Why? The reason is young people will earn the income because they are healthy. They will not go to the hospital for medical treatment. So they, if you take age as the moderating factor, that too age of young people as the moderating factor, then the relationship between income and medical expenses will be very low. On the other hand, if you take the age of older people as moderating factor, then the relationship between income and expenses will be very high. That is what I want to convey uh, in this example. Now, in case of moderation analysis, please remember we always measure the combined effect of independent variable and moderating variable on dependent variable. We never measure individual effect of moderating variable on dependent variable. We always measure the combined effect of income and age put together on what will be the influence on the dependent variable. So the next one is, if you want to do moderation analysis, we need to fulfill certain requirements. The first one is the dependent variable should be continuous. The independent variable should also be continuous, but moderating variable can be categorical with two groups. This is one requirement. Independent variable should be continuous, dependent variable should be continuous. Moderating variable can be categorical with two groups only, not more than that. The second one is there should be linear relationship between x and y. The next one, the data should be normally distributed. Then the data should not suffer from collinearity threat. Now, what is this collinearity threat? I explained yesterday. The relationship between independent variables should not be very strong. If it becomes very strong, then the problem is we cannot know which independent variable is contributing more on dependent variable. That problem will arise. So, want to do regression analysis or mediating analysis or moderation analysis, uh, see that there is no collinearity threat. Then the next one, we should do homoscedasticity test. Here, to do this test, we should formulate hypothesis. where HO should be, error should be equally distributed, and H1 should be, error is not equally distributed, and the p value should be less than 0.05. These are the requirements we should keep in mind if you want to do moderation analysis. Then uh, we have come to the last part. Um, this table is taken from one of the published article. Here, in the first column, we find path between independent variable, that is corporate social responsibility. In other words, we call it as CSR. The moderating variable, that is ethical leadership, EL, and dependent variable, that is pro environment. Next, we come across estimates wherein the beta value for men leaders and women leaders are given. The next, we find standard error, Z score. For moderation analysis, we need Z score. So that score is there. Then we have p value, and ULCL means upper limit confidence level. The other one is lower limit confidence level. The point to be noted here is the ULCL and LLCL should have same signs of otherwise the hypothesis cannot be accepted. But here in the table, both have same signs. That is why against decision, sorry, below decision, they have written accepted. That means the hypothesis what they formulated for this moderation analysis, it is accepted. One more point to be noted is the beta value of male and female leaders. It is 0.133 in case of male leaders and 0.141 in case of female leaders. From this, one can conclude that both male and female leaders are producing positive effect on independent variable, that is CSR, and dependent variable, that is pro environment. But one more point to be considered here is in case of female leaders, this relationship means the relationship between CSR and pro environment is stronger when compared to male leaders. Why? The beta value of female leaders is more than male leaders. You can see in the table. The beta value for female leaders, it is 0.141. For male leaders, it is 0.133. So from this, we can say that female leaders are more efficient than male leaders. That is the conclusion we can draw from this particular analysis. And sir, shall I stop here? Sir, shall I stop at this point? Yeah, sir, like before that, my request is um, If you permit me, uh, using that smart PLSM software, we can discuss uh, SEM analysis. If I show the theory, I think it may be difficult to understand. Now, no one else. Some days as per your convenience. Let the participants also download. It is an open source, and both of us can work on it simultaneously. Person is going on, both of us can do it together. Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Done. Any questions? Sir, I think no questions. Time problem. Yes, definitely. Sorry for the inconvenience today. Definitely. Yes, sir.
Uh,
Definitely. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Sorry, ma'am. I have one doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, can we frame the questionnaire based on only continuous by using a Likert and scale? Can we use only continuous questionnaires?
Oh, no, pa. Based on review of literature
Okay.
and expert opinion, you are
Huh.
going to design the questionnaire. List down
Okay.
the questions.
Okay.
Then you know, no face validity test, all that you do it. Pilot study.
Can we use on combination of multiple choice and Likert scale questions?
Yeah, yeah. You can use it. Not a
Okay.
problem.
Okay, ma'am.
But
Thank
if
you.
you use Likert scale for
Okay.
all the questions,
Okay.
then
Uh,
analysis of data becomes easier.
Yeah, ma'am. That's what I'm asking. Can we use the Likert scale questionnaire for all the variables without use only for democratic? We can use the multiple choice. For variable questions, can we use only the Likert scale?
If you do it in that way,
Yeah.
analysis and interpretation becomes easier. If your
There is
questionnaire is the mixture of ranking scale, Likert scale, and so on, a lot of modification has to be done at the later stage.
okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
The question should possess uniformity. Am I right, ma'am?
Unique?
Uniformity throughout, no, ma'am. For
If
a questioner
uniformity,
should be uniform in nature, which
yes,
should be helpful in analysis.
yes.
Hello, ma'am. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Madam. I am analyzing the financial performance of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana based on the gross premium, farmers premium, and claims reported and claims paid. but how to formulate the hypothesis and which is the appropriate statistical tool to test the hypothesis?
Sir, you can use t-test, sir.
T-test.
T-test.
How to formulate the hypothesis?
You just repeat the title, sir.
Analysis of performance of Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana
Pradhan Mantri, you
based
applied
on
for that ICSSR project.
हाँ मैम.
ICSSR project.
Yes ma'am, yes ma'am, yes.
Yeah, yeah. So the objective
So
is, see,
हाँ
Pradhana
मैम,
Mantri, that scheme is there, no? You're going
हाँ
to,
मैम.
you're going to suppose if the objective of the study is how many people are aware of it.
Madam, my objective is to analyze the financial performance based on the number of claims paid, number of premiums collected, then gross premium collected, and farmers premium collected.
Oh, fully
So
financial.
how to analyze this? हाँ ma'am, how to analyze these objectives based on the performance indicators?
So one side is scheme, the other side the performance. So you
हाँ
have
मैम.
only two variables, the independent and dependent
Yes.
variable. So
हाँ मैम.
you are asking me how to formulate the objectives.
No ma'am, how to formulate the hypothesis?
Hypothesis.
हाँ.
Uh, you can do the correlation, no, sir.
Correlation. What is the hypothesis ma'am?
Uh, there is a relationship between the scheme
हाँ
and
मैम.
performance.
Uh, we are measuring the scheme performance only, ma'am. How to we have to classify the variables. The scheme
So you are
itself,
saying,
we are analyzing the scheme. We are analyzing the scheme performance itself.
sir, under the scheme, you identify the factors, sir. Scheme.
हाँ ma'am, factors. हाँ ma'am, factors are, for example, farmers premium, gross
Huh,
premium, claims reported, and claims paid.
yeah. The other side,
So,
the performance, the financial performance of the company.
हाँ ma'am.
You calculate the relationship between the two, regression between two. So
हाँ
how to
ma'am.
formulate hypothesis? There
Yes
is
ma'am.
a
That is my
significant,
question.
ah, there is a significant relationship between
हाँ
the
ma'am.
Pradhana Mantri scheme and financial performance. Uh,
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
that is alternative hypothesis. I am telling. The second one,
हाँ
there is a significant impact of the scheme
हाँ.
on the financial performance.
Madam, we are measuring the performance of scheme only. So how to the PMFBY affect on the performance?
So only once one.
Only one scheme. Only one scheme is there. So we are analyzing the performance based on these factors. So that is why I am confusing about how to formulate the hypothesis and which is the appropriate tool for analyzing that performance.
That Pradhana Mantri scheme.
Is related to crop insurance, ma'am.
mm,
So I am
yeah,
confusing about
how you
that.
have taken, sir? Farmers should be aware of it, no? The awareness study.
Madam, that is awareness level, socioeconomic conditions, problems and prospects. I knew, but the performance of previous years I am measuring
Then you do trend
based on
analysis.
the data
Trend
trend
analysis.
analysis.
Trend analysis. You should
Huh.
do it.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
That's all. No, what else we can do? Trend analysis only. You do it, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
And ratio analysis. See whether it is possible.
Ratio analysis I will do, ma'am. But for statistical tools, which is the tool I can use?
Sir, for your topic, statistical tools is difficult to apply. All the statistical
Yes, ma'am.
tools,
That's why I'm confusing.
attachment, huh?
That's why I'm confusing which statistical tools is applying.
No, sir. These the statistical tools what I covered may not be applicable for
Um,
your study. You can think of trend analysis and ratio
ma'am.
analysis.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Any question? Sir, I think no questions. Sir, thank you for the opportunity. I thank all the friends, my close friends, best friends, for patiently listening to me. So thank you, sir. Thank- Shall I log out?